And here we are. Let me make sure we welcome to the 2021 annual meeting of the Montana Grape and Winery Association. This organization started several years ago. There was an organization once upon a time, way back in the 1980s or 90s, that didn't last very long. Fortunately, we have an organization now that does a lot of important things for our business. So here's the agenda. Thanks to Rich Torquemada, I'm using a bunch of your graphics from the annual report you gave last year. I just love not reinventing the wheel. So thanks to Rich for putting the structure together that I'm using this morning. Want to welcome all of you, members and friends alike. You don't need to be in Montana to be a member. We have some new members since the information went out about our annual meeting workshops and so forth. We want to particularly welcome those new members and hope that you will find some useful things in all of this. The minutes, let me pull those up on the screen for you. I think I have them right here. And I'm going to slide those over. I use two computer screens, and it sure is helpful for something like this. Here are the minutes from the last meeting that Steve took for us. And Rich sent these out about a week ago. So if you haven't looked them over, let's just buzz through them quickly. There were financial reports, approval of the former minutes. Probably one of the important things is that last year we brought on board Dan Murphy and Ben Griffith as new members. Rich agreed to stay on for at least one more year to help us make some kind of transition. I was elected as the president, Tom as the vice president, and Debbie Waldenberg as our secretary treasurer. Let's see, other important things. Rich reminded us of the workshop that we had just completed on specific plans for the future, and we'll look at that a little bit this morning as well. Went through some things that had been accomplished in Rich's report, and some conclusions about things we'd hope to work toward. And there was some old business. The IRS classification as a private foundation was a big one that we talked about and we'll be talking about this morning again. And I offered some philosophy and some issues about how we might want to grow our industry. We talked about legislation a little bit. We talked about forming a winery association in Montana. We'll talk about that this morning. And more stuff. We talked about a logo, and I like the one we're using now, and that's the one we decided to use for the annual meeting this year. We talked about where the meeting was going to be held, and we had no idea that it was going to be held like this. So, and we talked about judging wine and the importance of having some professional wine judging to help us understand the quality and nature of our wine. So those were the minutes from last year. Are there any comments or corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept the minutes from last year?
So moved.
Who moved it?
Dick.
And who made the motion?
Dick Sharametta.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Sharametta. Any further questions? Tom?
I second the motion.
Okay. All in favor of approving those minutes?
Aye.
Aye.
Any disagreements? Okay. Minutes have been approved. This is a funny way to do things, isn't it? I took the financial report that Debbie's staff member had done and took out the line spaces so I could get it all on one page. This was the profit and loss statement from last year, January through December. You'll note that the largest expense was related to the conference. One of the largest incomes was related to the conference other than the grant income. We ended up with $1,527 of net income at the end of the year. Are there any comments about the financial report? Do we have a motion to accept the report? Tom Eggenspur moved that we accept the report. Do we have a second? Thank you, Dick. Dick Sharmata seconded. Anyone against accepting the report? Okay. And all those who are for?
Aye.
Aye. The motion passes, so the report is accepted. For board nominees this year, Rich and I have had some comment with each other, and Rich has asked to leave the board, but indicated he would continue to provide some oversight for the grant that he had been working with. I see him nodding. So we do have one vacancy. I am willing to continue. I've talked to Larry and Linda, and they are willing to continue. Dan Vogel's name came up, and I've visited personally with Dan, and he is very excited to join the board if it be our will. Put before you these names for board nominees for this coming go around. Linda has indicated that she'll stay on for one more year. Dan is willing to take a full term. Do we have a motion to accept these nominees?
Prior to the motion, could I see Dan turn his video on so I can see if I can recognize the face? Please.
I'm not sure which Dan is here, whether it's Dan Vogel or Dan Murphy. Dan was one of our featured speakers last year at the annual meeting, so you might remember him from that. He is a sommelier working with wine procurement for Glacier National Park.
Okay, I remember who he is. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Mike. Do we have a motion to accept these nominees?
I make a motion to accept these nominees. Dan Murphy.
Thank you, Dan Murphy. Is there a second?
That.
Are there any other nominees from the floor? Any other nominees? I think we're supposed to ask that 3 times. Any other nominees? Hearing none, do we have a motion to accept these nominees as our board members? Tom Eggensprager. Do we have a second?
I will second.
All right. We have a motion and a second to accept these nominees for the board.
When you guys say motion or second, please just say your name because it's not showing up on my video for the minutes. So who seconded that one? Sorry.
Michael Mel,
Thank
second.
you.
Thanks very much, Mike. I think Robert's rules, at least the last time I looked at them, does not require the naming of the seconder, but only the person who makes the motion. But we'll go ahead and list them until we clarify that for sure.
Well, and in the minutes from 2019, none of the motions or seconds were actually listed by the people. Do you want me to do that?
We should identify at least the maker of the motion.
Okie dokie.
Any further discussion before we take the vote? All those in favor of these nominees, wave, scream, holler, give some indication.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Anyone opposed? I wish I knew how to make those little shiny hands that some of you are waving, yellow hands. That's cute. The motion passes. These are your board members for the coming year, and thanks to each of you for continuing to be a part of this adventure we share. For board officers, I'm recommending here no changes. I'm willing to stay on as the president, and Tom is willing to stay on as the vice president, I believe. Is that right, Tom? Yep. And Debbie, you're willing to stay on as the secretary treasurer?
Yes, yeah.
Do we have a motion to accept these officers for this coming year?
Sure, Meta, I'll make the motion.
Thanks. Dick Charamata makes the motion. Do we have a second? Linda Coco seconds it. All in favor, throw some sort of a sign.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Opposed? Thank you to these folks who have agreed to serve as our officers for the coming year. Okay, let's get into my report as I look back over what we've done and where we're going in the future. Some of the priorities listed for 2020 were to continue to improve communications. I've dropped the ball on that. I had hoped to do some things with MailChimp more often, and thanks to Rich for really staying on top of things. And I need to really pick up the slack there, and hopefully we'll do that this year. The 2020 and 2021 annual conference was a top priority, and I really want to thank again Amy and Zach, and especially Rich, who has done this 2 or 3 times face to face and kept a good eye on all the loose ends that go into making up a conference like this and making it happen. I wouldn't have had a clue on how to do the technical digital work that Amy and Zach have done for us. So really grateful to them for doing what they've done. Improvement of membership numbers, we'll take a brief look at that. Implementation of grants. We struggled a little bit with following through on one of the grants because of changes in leadership. Resolving the IRS classification issue, we are still working on that. Spinning off the Winery Association of Montana, investigating Totally Montanan as a promotional tool, and the new strategic plan that we developed just as that meeting was happening. So here are some of the things that we completed. We had our board meetings, mostly by Zoom. Annual conference was done. This is the last event in it. Grant planning and implementation. We did establish a grant coordinating committee sometime late this last summer or early fall. That should help with that in the future. We do want to work on improving our communications, but we've done some of that. The Winery Association of Montana was established as a separate 501c6 organization. It's registered with the state of Montana. We're still awaiting to hear from the IRS whether or not that they have approved the C6 designation. We're hoping that happens within the next couple of weeks, but who knows? Everyone is so behind on all of the bureaucratic things, both state and federally, because of COVID-19. But all of the legwork has been done, all of the paperwork has been done. We're just waiting to hear. I want to issue a plug to welcome Amy Darling as the Western Ag Research Center's Vineyard Program Manager. Amy has been not only helpful here, but she's been doing good work there at Corvallis. Establishing Totally Montanan has also been accomplished as a trademark for the Winery Association of Montana. Some of the ongoing things, irrigation management research that was started a year or so ago. I know that Larry had something to do with that. as well as WARC. We are apparently in the midst of a new system for membership coordination and so forth. I need to talk to the rest of the officers and try and figure out where we're at with that. We are continuing research on tannin expression in wine, thanks to Dr. Waterlow for her presentation this workshop. Larry and I may continue to be working with her independently with some more research of that sort because it's such an important thing to the wines that we make. Dan Murphy and I and others are really interested in and concerned about professional wine evaluations. We all love the People's Choice Awards and the fun that we have at an event like that, but to get some objective, unabashed, independent, professional wine evaluation done in a private manner so that we can take the hits as well as the accolades is really, really important as we try to improve our wines in the Montana winery industry. So we're hoping to find a way to do that. The IRS classification resolution is still out there. 2021 workshops are a done deal for the annual meeting, but hopefully we'll do some more of that during this coming year. There was a marketing grant that I know Rich worked on in part with people from MSU, and I'm not sure where that's at. Rich, do you want to make any comment about that?
Sure, let me unmute here. We're in the process of amending our grant so that we can allow for some more in-depth analysis. And unfortunately, we had a shift in how we are administering that grant last fall, December. And the amendment process, which we were told would take about a month, is moving into month 3. So unfortunately, we're still waiting to hear what that's going to mean. If they approve it, we have a structure in place to go forward with a person from our own association to work on that for the rest of this year through October. So that's the marketing end of things. It would involve some surveys, part of which Zach and Wark are taking on from a producer standpoint, but we need more also complementary surveys and marketing to distributors, the public in general. And so there's lots of aspects of that that are on hold right now while we wait for our amendment.
Thanks very much, Rich. So that's an amendment related to the grant that funds the research that Rich was talking about. We hope that that can happen. Mark continues to work with their viticulture related projects in terms of the quality of wines that can be made from various cultivars and which cultivars seem to work well, what kind of disease and insect problems we have and so forth. And we are so lucky that we have this kind of research institution here in Montana. And finally, connecting the Montana Grape and Wine Association with the Montana Berry Growers Association and the Wine Association of Montana. And that will be a continuing important part of what we look forward to doing. Communication. About a month ago, I looked at where we were at with MailChimp. Our non-member people on the mailing list, from what I can understand, went up from about 135 to 185. Those numbers might not be exact, but at least we can say that there's an increasing number of people, whether they're members or not, who are interested in the grape, wine, fruit growing industry in Montana. We went from 65 who were listed as members to 71. That's not very big growth, but at least it represents a slight increase in membership. Newsletters, website, Facebook, snail mail, we continue to do those things as they are needed. Here's just a little chart that I added to that indicate that our membership is just going up a wee bit. We had a couple of new members this year. And this was a slide that Rich had last year showing the sorts of things that you should be able to find on our website. And we did not keep that up well at all this year. Hopefully we can put more of the information up in the coming year for people to be able to see in terms of the official acts that the association has done.
And also a quick plug, that is most likely where the recordings from this conference will be in perpetuity.
Okay, thanks very much, Amy, for offering that clarification. So these were some of the conclusions. Increased communication, increased locally driven research and marketing. I've chatted with Zach a few times about WARC being able to do some of that tannin research that Dr. Waterlow has done for us. I would love to be able to see that done in Montana on site. But I am very grateful for the talent that Dr. Waterlow brings to this, since it's a particular emphasis of hers. Increased organizational efficiency. Need to make a concerted effort to maintain and build our membership, and I hope we can do more of that this year. Networking with the other players who are involved in the industry. WAM, the berry growers, Montana Department of Agriculture, WARC. One that I left out is the Department of Tourism, which is a huge one. Not to mention all those other people involved in the alcohol industry who are sometimes cooperative with us and sometimes not. And finally, marketing is a key. We can grow some grapes and other fruit. We can make wine, mead, and cider. We can offer the public a unique Montana experience, and folks are definitely looking for that. So for old business, three things that particularly jumped out for me were the IRS nonprofit status, the strategic planning from the strategic plan that was finished up after the annual meeting last year, and the issue of Totally Montanan. So let's take a look at those. Here's some information from the strategic plan. These were the 5 goals that were identified by the strategic plan. That by 2025, as an organization, we hope to increase the resilience of the wine industry in Montana. And I would almost like to change that word to the winery industry in Montana. The winery industry in Montana represents about 0.5% of the wine business in Montana. So we'd like to increase the resiliency of those of us who are out there actually making wine. Consumers, retailers, and distributors' awareness of the quality of Montana wines will increase. Dan gave some comments earlier about how joyous it is, despite all the work we do, to see the eyes light up of people sitting in your tasting room, amazed that this wine was actually made in Montana. One of my favorite things is when somebody finally has the guts to say, after visiting for a half hour with us over a wine tasting, you know, when I came in here, I expected this to be sort of like some more of that homemade wine. And oh my God, this stuff's pretty good. We love it when we hear that and see that surprise in people's faces when they discover that we can turn out some top quality stuff here in Montana. The economic impact of the Montana wine industry will be better understood by all of the stakeholders. Networking, research, education, and support of Montana's grape growers and fruit growers and wine producers will be strengthened. And finally, the capacity and viability of this association, MTGWA, will be greatly enhanced. One way to do that would be to land an enormous gift from some anonymous benefactor so that we could hire someone to run this organization full time, but that's not likely to happen in the near future. And our vision statement, a thriving Montana wine industry with successful growers and excellent wines. So these things are at the heart of the vision strategic plan that we put together last spring, and we'll continue to work from those goals as we look forward to what we're doing in the future. Here's some information on the IRS nonprofit classification. For those that are unaware of this, our original IRS class was discovered to be an error. It was registered with the IRS as a private foundation and should have been a non-profit public charity. For about 2 years, Joel Kuleva, a lawyer that worked with us from Missoula, attempted to help us straighten this out with the IRS. I suggested in one of those meetings, why don't we just start a new organization with the same initials, with the same purpose, with the same board members, with the same paperwork, and reapply as a nonprofit corporation, as a 501c3 public charity. Our board of directors agreed that we should do that. And so on behalf of the board, I filed for that new organization, which now exists. It's called the Montana Grape and Winery Association, or Wine Association, pardon me, with the same initials, the same officers, the same budget, the same website, and so forth. All we're waiting for now, as WAM is waiting for their acknowledgement letter from the IRS, we are still waiting for our acknowledgement letter from the IRS that we are, in fact, recognized as a 501c3 public charity. As soon as that happens, we can transfer all of the assets of the original organization to the new organization and continue on as if nothing has changed. There are two big reasons for why this is an important thing to accomplish. One is that reporting for tax purposes each year is as simple as signing an email postcard if we're registered as a public charity. Much less cumbersome than the filing that we have to do as a private foundation. And secondly, well, that's the big one. So we hope that that will happen soon. And it also, secondly, it also does give us a little bit more leeway on how we can do lobbying as a 501c3. So as soon as that happens, I'll let the association know that we are sliding from one organization to an identical organization that does the same kind of work. Oh, that's not what I meant to do. Okay, Totally Montanan is a brand name that Tongue River Winery started. I started back in 2011. I deregistered it with the Tax and Trade Bureau, and the very same day, within minutes, it was registered as a brand in December 2020 by the Winery Association of Montana. We wanted to make sure that nobody else got a hold of that as a recognizable term before WAM managed to get it licensed or registered as a trademark with the Secretary of State. That has taken place. If you go to totallymontanan.com, it will take you directly to the Winery Association of Montana's website, winemontana.com, where we hope to promote the sales and promotion of Montana wines made by Montana wineries. So that has taken place. Larry Robertson put together the paperwork to establish the Winery Association of Montana, and that has happened as well. So Totally Montanan, grown here, made here, bottled here, will be licensed by WAM to any winery that has wines that are 100% grown, made, and packaged in Montana. Okay, WAM was formed, as I mentioned. One of the things we discovered totally by accident at looking at legislation is that as a 501c6 organization, just like chambers of commerce, WAM is entitled to 12 special event permits throughout the year. We can do things like hold wine celebrations all around the state using special permits from WAM. As it sits now, if we want to do a special event like that, each winery would have to get their own permit for that event. So this really opens the door to make things easier. And wineries still have their 10 special permits, but WAM will be able to give us 12 more as an organization. So I'm sorry, I slipped into new business. WAM has organized a Rotunda event in the Capitol on the 15th of April to showcase Montana wines made in Montana. That event has been registered and coordinated with the state capitol. So that will be coming up in just a couple of weeks. White Raven Winery is doing a wine festival. I believe it's in July. Have you got a date pinned down yet, Dan?
We are actually shooting for August 14th, but it's unconfirmed. And a little bit more on that. I have a full agenda situation written, and I'm about to present it to both to you, Bob, and to Larry as the presidents of the two organizations to verify I'm on the right track. So to answer your question, August 14th is the targeted date at the moment. There's one key factor that we are waiting on for the mobile alcohol sales, for bottle sales, before I lock that date in. But one more note, with anyone who's here, I do need to start getting a count of how many wineries are going to participate. So I'll be sending that email out.
Thanks very much, Dan. If the Winery Association of Montana's permit comes through by that time, we can probably do that with their permit. I know Dan's had a lot of conversation with the liquor control people and how to do things so that they are pleased with us and we don't step on any of their rules. So keep your eyes peeled in your email boxes for further information about perhaps Montana's first multi-winery wine festival. This is a brand new thing for us. There are some new wineries. Yeah, Dan.
One more quick note on that regard. We are also putting together the professional panel that I'm hoping to have on premises during that wine festival as well, so we can coordinate all of the different wineries bringing your wines that you want professionally judged at that same time, so we don't have all the shipping costs involved, as well as try to do some sort of other either a workshop, call it, or the like, where we can get together as Montana Grape and Wine Association, again, hosted here at White Raven Winery. That's totally fine, to where you can coordinate your visit up to the Flathead Valley here all in one. Bring your personal wines. I'll make a legal space for it that's not on this premises, so I don't get my tail in a cracker. Yeah, so I'm trying to put a proposal together for that as well, so we can have some semblance of normalcy in regards to Montana Grape and Wine Association of having a get together in person, tasting each other's wines, and just having a great time. So that's also going to be in the proposal I'm going to be sending out to both Bob, you, and Larry for your suggestions before we can make it public to the rest of the associations.
Thanks, Dan, for the legwork you're doing on this. It should be really good. We have some new wineries in the works. I know that Ben is still working with the TTB to get their winery fully permitted. We're excited to see that. We managed to drive up and deliver some harvest logs to Ben and Alyssa late last summer, and had a chance to look at their facility before it was finished. Let's see. Aaron Felder is sitting there this morning. Good to see you, Aaron. Aaron is also working to create the second vineyard and winery combination on the Yellowstone River drainage. So I'm excited to see that come into being as well. So keep the Felders in your thoughts and cheer them on as they proceed as well.
Rich had a question on chat.
Rich has a question on chat. We'll get to that.
Asking whether the winery association people have to be totally Montana.
Good question, Rich. Rich raised a question, and I can't see the chat box, but Marilyn ran upstairs to tell me. Rich was asking if you have to only have totally Montanan wine to be a member of the Winery Association of Montana. And the answer is a great big no. You need to make wine in Montana. And that's a stipulation in our bylaws that you cannot be a wine bar bringing in all finished wine and belong to the Winery Association of Montana. You have to actually be manufacturing your wine. We haven't pinned down what that percentage is, but philosophically, we strongly, those of us who are members of WAM and started the organization, strongly believe that a winery is a place that makes wine, not a place that primarily is there only to sell wine. So that's one of the membership requirements for WAM.
Bob?
Yeah, go ahead. Is that you, Tom?
Would that include people that just, yeah, would that include people that just make wine, maybe not for commercial consumption?
No, but you can certainly be an interested person and be a part of some of the things that happen. We're charging fairly stiff yearly dues of $250 per winery to underwrite some of the expenses that we have, including things like lobbying expenses and planning expenses and promotional expenses and so forth. And we don't feel that it's fair to charge that kind of fee to amateur winemakers. This is an organization that we've started to specifically support and expand the business of commercial wineries in Montana. I am not aware, and I think I've heard there's another new winery in the works in the Bitterroot Valley. I think Larry mentioned to me that the guy who worked for Zach at WARC after he left that position was interested in starting his own winery. I heard
Bob, this is Brian McGuire. Are you there?
Yeah. Yep.
Am I on? I think you're talking about Mark Bennett. Mark and Linda Bennett have had their vineyard. They've been making wine down there, I don't know, 10, 12 years, something like that. And they just last summer, I believe, started their application process and are, of course, experiencing the same sanitation issues that all the rest of us did. So I think that's what you're talking about. And yeah, they're right beside it.
Yep. If you know of others that are seriously pursuing becoming a commercial winery, by all means, pass that information on, and we'll do our best to include them in this organization. There is a professional video possibility to showcase the Montana fruit and winery industry. Some of you may have seen the one that was done on Tongue River Winery through a couple of grants by the fellow who owns a distillery. And I can't think of his name offhand, but it might come to me. I did a really nice job, 4 to 5 minute video with some overhead video shots and so forth. And it impressed me enough that I'm tempted to buy a drone, a good drone, and travel around the association and take videos of the rest of you that are involved in this industry, so that we can put together a really nice video presentation of what the wine industry and the grape and fruit growing industry in Montana is like. There are people out there that know how to do that, and could really be a useful promotional tool.
Bob, if I could interject again, that's Jesse Spalding.
Thank you.
From Fire Root
Yep.
Cidery and Distillery. And yeah, he had a grant through the Montana Film Office, and they're using it for marketing at all levels around the state. He does
the
really,
Department of Tourism. He looks about 16 years old, but he's got to be in his mid-30s. What a nice guy, and what a professional job he did. So hats off to him for the work that he's doing. Next year's annual meeting will be again in Montana. I made a decision, perhaps unilaterally, because I felt we had to make some kind of determination that looking at a 3-state meeting, which we talked about last year, be postponed for another year. I think we need to get together again ourselves. I made that comment to the annual meeting of the North Dakota Grape and Wine Association, and they agreed that after this COVID-19 bruising battle we've all been through, we want to make sure we have really good attendance at our next meeting, and have a chance for our Montana people to get together again. So one of the things we're going to need to decide is where we're going to meet for next year's meeting, if it's safe to meet. And I'm certainly open to any suggestions that that entails. Anyone have any comments they'd like to offer about where we should try to meet? You know, it might be fun to, although it's the farthest drive for us, to meet up in the Whitefish area or Columbia Falls area, so that we can celebrate Dan's Winery up there, and maybe do it sometime where at least part of Glacier Park will be open, so that people can enjoy some of the park as well if they wish to. Dan, is there a meeting place big enough for an event like that to happen up in your neck of the woods?
Yeah, actually, we can probably do it at the winery. I'm guessing. So let me get some numbers together of what I think I can allow, and we can probably do it here.
Is your space big enough for 75, 80 people?
Within reason. Let me get back to you on that.
For the rest of you, if you have suggestions for where you'd like to see the annual meeting happen, shoot them off to me, and your reasons for why you think it should be where you're suggesting, and we can meet as a board a month or so from now and try to start pinning that down. Is there other new business that we should bring up today, or old business for that matter?
I have a question for Dan. Does that hotel in Columbia Falls have a meeting room or conference room?
They do. I understand that it's somewhat limited. Let me check on that detail, because it is not too far from here, and there are a couple other hotels that are around that would work as well. Yeah, Cedar Creek Lodge is a very beautiful place, and I know they have some conference capabilities. So let me do research on that, and I'll get back to the board on that.
And then maybe we could get rooms there as well or something.
Okay. Thank you.
I had something, Bob.
Larry, I didn't see you being here.
Yeah, I just turned on my camera. I just checked the legislative site and House Bill 688, which was just introduced a couple days ago. We'll have a hearing on Tuesday, and it is just a study bill, since we lost all of our value-added agriculture legislation. What that'll do is explore the potential for Montana viticultural areas or regions with concentration on incentivizing vineyards and cider orchards mostly, but it would be an interim study bill, and it is up on the state legislature website right now.
Okay, and thank you, Larry. I'm glad you brought that up. The study bill, and Larry put this together, and thanks very much for doing that. The bill is House Bill 688. That's House Bill 688. There's a hearing on the 30th at 3 o'clock. And you can make comments and submit them, and you maybe be able to meet via Zoom as well. Our hope is that if we can get more people in the legislature aware of the winery industry and the ag industry that supports it, that we might be able to pass legislation more favorable to wineries in Montana. So this is an attempt that we're going to make to get that to happen.
Who's the bill sponsor?
It is, the sponsor is Representative Kastmeyer, who's the chair of the House Agricultural Committee. You just look up House Bill 688, and it'll take you to the whole history of it. It was put together pretty quickly. Since you can't have actual bills presented anymore, but study bills, we had a window to be able to do that. It comes with a $25,000 appropriation that and the staff of the general services.
So for those of you that want to support the bill, we will not be supporting it as an organization because we don't want to get into lobbying issues with MTGWA, but it's a good bill. As long as we're on the legislative topic, here are some things that that the Wine Association of Montana attempted to do. We wanted to emphasize the agricultural basis for the winery industry in Montana. Number one, clarify that wineries are actually in the business of making wine. Number two, gain support for off-site winery satellite tasting rooms so that people like the McGuires, who are not in an ideal tourist location or large city, could, for example, have a tasting room in Missoula. So they're closer to both tourists and people who travel. A lot of states allow this. One state in the union, I think, if I remember right, Pennsylvania allows for unlimited numbers of tasting rooms. Washington State allows for 5. New Jersey allows for 15. So we're not asking for something unusual here, but because the Tavern Owners Association has such power and they look at anything like this as a threat to their business, unless we can broaden the support for things like this, they're not going to happen. They certainly didn't happen this year. Gain support for selling wine by the bottle at special permit events. North Dakota can do that. I think Washington State can do that. A lot of states can do that. But in Montana, a winery can only sell wine by the glass at special permitted events or give free samples. And as Dan pointed out earlier, the biggest struggle we have as wineries in Montana is recognition for our products. Everyone knows what Cab and Merlot are. Everyone knows what Riesling and Pinot Noir are, but very few people know what Petite Pearl is, or Marquette, or St. Pepin, or the fruit wines that we have for sale. And the way we help them get to know that is to spread tastings around, not only by selling by the glass, but if we have someone at a special permit and they buy a couple of bottles of wine, they invite some friends over for supper, now there's more people that know what our wines taste like. So we're hoping that we can increase that public awareness of what our wines are like through the sale of wine by bottles. If WAM is successful in getting its 501c6 status, and we can do more events like the one that Dan is planning up at White Raven, that's another way we can help people become more familiar with the wines that are actually grown and made in Montana. And finally, we asked for support for allowing special permits at farmers markets, which is also allowed in many states, including North Dakota, where people can can sell wine at farmers markets. Sadly, especially because of I think the Tavern Owners Association, we really got shot down on our legislation, except for the one thing that helps them, and that is to define a winery as a place which makes at least half of its wine on site. That they want because they don't want more what we might call wine bars. Wineries that are legally licensed now that can hold a winery license even though they make absolutely no wine at all. So the bill that is still before the legislature grandfathers in those who are already licensed. It doesn't take anything away from them, but in the future, it will require wineries to actually make 50% of the wine, more than 50% of the wine at their own winery. So we'll see what happens with that legislation. That's, like I say, the one piece of legislation that WAM attempted to promote that might make it through. Dan.
Quick note in regards to the wine festival. I think I found a way around bottle sales. So there is a mobile liquor license holder in the Flathead Valley that can sell bottles of wine. So we have arrangements with them. That's why the date is a little bit shady because we're working out exactly when. And the idea is bottles first, and then at the event, they can legally sell our bottles as well. So just heads up, that's coming in that detailed regard.
Thanks, Dan. So we're looking for workarounds until we can do that ourselves, and it'll be great if we can pull that off. I heard a voice.
Yeah, Bob. Regardless if WAM doesn't get our permit or our 501c by the Rotunda event or at our wine festivals, the thing is that one winery can file a permit, not everybody has to, and then you just explain in the permit that, you know, all these wineries have to self-distribute and move with their own employees the wine to that location, and the festival is under that requirement. Adding the guy that sells the wine is really good, but it's a lot simpler. It's the Brewery Association does it for beer fests and things. They just get a permit, and then all the separate breweries have to just follow the law like they normally do to transport their product and serve it with safe server and so forth.
Okay, thanks, Larry. We will make sure we double check on those issues and get something out. It's important for us to pin those things down within the next few days because the Rotunda event is coming up so quickly. So a big shout out to those who have sent in photographs to the Winery Association, the Montana Grape and Wine Association. It's helpful to have those photographs for publicity and other things. So as you did last year, send in your JPEGs. And as the example description says down here, the John Doe Vineyard 070418. I bet you Rich put this together back in July of 2018 as an example. So do send them in and we'll see if we can get them to the right hands so that we can use some of your photographs. And finally, great thanks to our planning committee. Tom is the chair of the committee. Linda Coco did some of the graphic works for us. Amy Zach especially helped us put this electronic stuff together. Debbie Waldenberg has been lurking in the background and keeping track of loose ends and providing reports for us. A big thanks to Rich Torquemada for all the work that he's done. More than he should have been expected to do, but he was willing and I let him do it. To our board members for your contributions and for helping keep this going. Your board members are listed there at the bottom. And that's all I have. Is there anything else we want to bring before the board this morning? Or before the annual meeting, before our membership?
Bob, did you want me to do any polling for your meeting? I didn't set anything up, but I'm happy to throw one out there if you'd like.
You certainly can do that if you like. Any other issues, comments, concerns? Do we have a motion for adjournment? Tom Eggensberger moves that we adjourn. Is there a second?
Sure, I'll second it.
Thanks, Dick. All in favor? Show some kind of sign.
Aye.
All right. No opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you so much for helping us get through our very first digital annual meeting and workshop series. We had no idea how well it would turn out. I can tell you from some feedback I heard that Minnesota did this as well with the cold climate. Their annual meeting, they had fewer people, quite a lot fewer people than they expected. That's understandable with an event like this. It's just way more exciting to get together. So I can't wait for the event up at White Raven. I can't wait for us to get together again for a legitimate face-to-face annual meeting and workshop session next year. Amy, you're back on. You want to say anything?
Just thanks a bunch to everyone. We had some really fantastic attendance in terms of who we had sign up and who we had show up. So I think we should be excited about how this went, even if we wish we could have been in person. So thanks everyone for showing up. Thanks to everyone who supported. It's been really fun for me to be a part of this in my first year in this position. So I'm excited to keep working with you guys.
Awesome. Good to hear.
Thank you, everybody, for the fine job that you did. And Brian, if you're still on there, I did send you a little note on the chat. You want to peek at it?
I will look. Thank you. Good to see you again, Dick.
So, take care, everyone. Hope you have a great and successful and fruitful year.
For those that didn't stick around through a lot of the conversation, we learned last night that Dick and his wife are selling their property, and it's always been good to see them at the annual meeting. And it's a shame that you know, we get older, life has its changes. So, Amy, is this going to be just open if people want to sit around and chat, or are you going to shut her down?
I can keep it open. I'll just stop recording.
Okay, excellent. Thanks, Amy.
Thank you, Bob, for the kind words, and we will certainly try to, do our best to keep in touch and certainly be involved with winemaking in the future.
And if Rich is still around, how's your foot doing? I think he's gone. For those that don't know, Rich broke his ankle skiing and had some metal stuck in. So I hope he's coming along really well.
Hey, this is Larry. Best of luck there, Dick.
Thank you, Larry.
I had a question I didn't want to bring up during the conference. Several years ago, somebody had tasted mine. Open up a boutique winery, just like subscription only, members only. Has anybody ever done that or know any more about that?
You certainly can do that sort of thing. I remember a couple of years ago, gosh, I can't, I think it might have been in North Dakota, or maybe it was a cold climate. It was a cold climate conference in Minnesota, maybe 10 years ago. There's a woman out east who has a winery that would fit in our closet. It is a tiny, tiny little winery. She charges, I think, a fair amount of money per bottle, but she's having fun and she's making good wine. So anything's possible.
I'd be curious more about the legalities and, making sure I don't break any ATF or TTB rules.
You have to go through the whole process that a bigger winery has to go through. So it's a lot of paperwork, but if you don't mind doing that, and your facility is such that you can do it, Larry would be a good person to talk to because he has a winery in his home, and knows what it requires in order to get that approved. But yeah, you have to do all the paperwork.
Yeah. You still have to follow all the rules and that, but there's no limit on the size. Biggest thing is it has to be secure, and an outside entrance to it. Those are the main things. And once you have that, they don't really care how you proceed because you've got to go then and like the feds don't. You have to license then with the state, and it's going to be up to them whether they like it or not. And if you meet their requirements, the Fed license actually is really easy to get. It's not tough. It's the state license that's the tough one.
Well, considering I'm still making my wine in my laundry room and there's only one access to the crawl space, I probably won't pursue it any further. I sure appreciate your input.
Sure, no problem.
Hey, Mike, before you go, are you there?
Yes, I am. How you doing?
How you doing, Mike? Take a look at the cottage. There's a new, I'll say new, 3-4 years ago, they passed cottage industry laws in Montana. I don't know how they work regarding wineries, but I do know that the cottage industry law is allowing people to make really little teeny outfits in their home kitchens as long as they can meet the cottage industry requirements, which are not the same as standard Department of Health and Human Services stuff. So TTB is easy. You have to meet quick standards, but what you wind up stuck with is dealing with your county and whether or not you can meet, what do you know, sanitation and Department of Health and Human Services and all those other things. But I don't know how wineries are affected by cottage industry. Good luck.
All right, thanks.
Why don't you just do a custom crush someplace?
You can do that.
Why don't you just operate out of a licensed winery? You don't have to spend a nickel. You can write a check for rent, put your label attached to somebody else's property, and then you can put whatever volume you want together.
That's a good idea too. I appreciate it. Thanks, Brian.
I'm here for you, Mike.
If any of the rest of you who are here would like to see the video that was made of our winery, I can show it to you.
Please do.
Okay, you should be able to see it now. Here we go.